Hello, and welcome back to my Aston Martin driver career mode for race number 18, the Japanese Grand Prix around the Suzuka circuit. To get this race started, we've got a few upgrades. We're still the worst car on the grid, though. We need more pace. And yeah, with the worst car on the grid, we are going to get ourselves ready for qualifying. Which, to be honest, qualifying isn't my strong suit. I think if you've watched this channel, you know that qualifying's not my strong suit. But Japan is one of my better tracks in time trial. I think I'm around top 15% in the world at time of recording. The actual video, not the actual voice. I think I'm more like 24 now, but when I did the actual recording, I was 15. But yeah, that doesn't matter at the moment because all that matters now is what we're doing here into turn 1. A little bit wide, not quite hitting the apex. We are first lap of the day, so no deltas. Often throws me off a bit. But let's get into a bit of what we're actually trying to achieve in this race while we're doing this qualifying lap. Haas are our main rivals in the Constructors' Championship. We're fighting over P7, I believe. And they are, I believe, ahead of us at this point. I need to check on that. But, yeah, I believe at this point, they are just ahead of us. Kevin Magnussen, obviously, he's in a Haas and he's just gone faster. So, we're going to have to put some work into this qualifying session if we're going to be anywhere near him. And that is obviously going to show from this first lap where we're almost 2 seconds off of him, which is not good. Now, starting off second lap, we have fallen down to P20. Kind of where I expected to be. My first laps on the qualifying is never really that good. Well, you just got to keep pushing through it. I know they're not the best laps, but they're the best that I can do. I don't know why. It's just qualifying. I just can't, like, do it. Like, it's just weird. I can't perform. That I gotta stop talking. That sounds weird. And like races, I feel like it's just I'm so much quicker. I understand the car so much better. I'm definitely a race merchant, not a quality merchant. Just pointing that out. As the second lap, to be honest, isn't going that well. We're about 10th and a half down, going into the final chicane, and well, we're gonna find a bit of time because we had a pretty poor exit on our first lap. We find about 0.4 of a second there, and we're still majorly off the cars ahead as we're coming to our third and final flying lap. 40 seconds left in the session. This is most definitely going to be our last lap. We're slowly gaining time in the first sector. Obviously got a better exit on the out of the chicane, but then through turns 1 and 2 we managed to lose it again, going to 5th gear through 5th gear through this Mickey Mouse twisty section. We're around 6/10 up on our lap. We're gonna have to improve a lot more than that if we want to be anywhere but P20 on the grid. You can see the brilliant sun rays, God, I can't speak today, sun rays shining down as we almost run. Oh, we do run a bit wide. We're going to scrub off a lot of time there. Coming up to the hairpin, can we find any time here? Braking just at the end of the curve, get the car rotated around the corner. We do find a bit of time for the corner, but we lose it on the exit, as I really don't think we need to be anywhere but P20 at this point. We're going to keep going though, braking just after the 50-meter board, getting the car round the corner, being careful not to run wide because you will spin out exits. It's got those weird little white arrow curves that are just, they spin you if you touch them. It's really annoying. But for now, about 3/10 down on our lap. Can we find any time going into the chicane, braking around the 100 meters, completely vaulting the curb there, and we are not going to find any time for there. But on the exit, we are going to find around a 10th, but that is still going to leave us in P20, a full second off the next car ahead of us of Nicholas Latifi. Worst car on the grid, but being a second off in qualifying is not okay. We are definitely going to have to improve on our race pace, so let's get into this.
Welcome along then to the magnificent Suzuka International Circuit, a stone's throw away from Ise Bay in the beautiful Japanese countryside. What surprises lie in wait for us today at the Japanese Grand Prix? We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at the unique figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with average speeds approaching 136 miles per hour. DRS will be available, of course, into the potential passing opportunity at turn 1, although the best place for overtaking will be through 130R and into the final chicane. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's Sergio Perez on pole today, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Norris, Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Gasly, Hamilton and Kevin Magnussen, Ocon, Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Alex Albon and Vettel, Joe, Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda and the engineer, Latifi, they've taken a grid penalty, and Mick Schumacher. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
Okay guys, so as you can see from the grid seekers, we have gained a few places and we are now up into P18. We're going to be lining up side by side with Yuki Tsunoda ahead of Mick Schumacher, with Nicholas Latifi beside him. The Ferrari of Carlos Sainz is quite close, so if we get a good jump we might be able to just jump him off the start, but that is going to fully rely on our start in this race. And speaking of starts, let's go to the 5 red lights. Red Bull on pole, Ferrari alongside them as we go to 5 red lights, as we go green in Suzuka. Pretty good start from us, bad start from the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz ahead of us. Amazing start from Nicholas Latifi, the Canadian, and the Williams getting a good jump. We're alongside Sainz. Can we just slip the inside of Gasly? We slip the inside of Gasly, and then Zhou Guan Yu as well. He gets on the curb though, and he spins the car around, and it's broken our front wing as we fully break our front wing. He's in the wall, and I believe he is out of this race, and that is going to be the safety car deployed. I really don't think we could have done anything to avoid that incident. Red front wing. We just can't turn the car anymore as we go completely off circuit into the gravel trap, as obviously we are going to come into the pits almost completely going into the wall in the pit lane, finding it so hard to turn, as we are going to change our front wing and take off this old set of medium tyres. Well, I say old, they did about half a lap before it went into safety car conditions, and put a new brand spanking set of hard tyres on. We had a little bit of problem attaching the front wing, but it doesn't matter because we are going to be last whatever happens in this race. And now we've got the major task of catching up to the cars ahead, but it shouldn't really matter. I think the safety car should wait for us, and yes it does, as we're preparing to go for this restart. Car number 47 ahead of us, Mick Schumacher in the Haas. Gonna quickly explain that it is a Haas and we need to be ahead of him. Can't see Magnussen anywhere, so we have a major bout of understeer going through the chicane. Tyres are not up to temperature, and we're going to lose almost a second on the safety car restarts. We're really falling off the pack now. We're going to have to improve our pace a little bit, get these cards warmed up. There's yellow flags ahead. I don't know what's happened there. Can't see anybody off, so must have just been a tangle. Maybe a front wing coming off. We'll maybe see if anyone pits at the end of this lap. But now on to lap 5 through 130R. We are slowly gaining on the cars. There's Sergio Perez is out of the session. Big blow for the Red Bull drivers. I think that finally takes him out of championship contention, as I believe he's now too far back from Charles Leclerc to possibly overtake him, as we are now within DRS of the Haas of Mick Schumacher ahead, and then Nicholas Latifi ahead of him. We have the overspeed on Mick Schumacher. We get a warning for track limits, but we're going to go up the inside of the Haas there. Brilliant move from ourselves. A little bit of contact, a bit Max Verstappen-esque. I'm getting one of my least favourite drivers on the grid. I'm scarily becoming like him on the F1 game. Major dives and just whacking into people. It does scare you a bit, but hey, you live and you learn. Next up, we got Latifi ahead, as we have a major moment on the curb. I think we just bottomed out at the back end there. As also, main note, Carlos Sainz not really making up that many places in this race. That may also drag him out of championship contention if he wasn't already. I'm going to be honest, I'm not really paying attention to the leaders at the front. I'm more focusing on my own championship. But hey, if it gets interesting, we might have to focus more on the front. I like to focus more on what I'm doing in these races rather than what other people are doing. I know it may hurt me on the content side, but I don't think I'm ready to start editing like that. I'm going to try and edit more like that in Season 2. Bring a bit more of what's happening around the race to it, rather than just my perspective. But for now, I think it's just best for me to do my perspective. So, yeah, just a little side rant there as we're going for a move on Latifi. We're going to have DRS for the main straight. I believe he's out of DRS from Carlos Sainz, which means that we are going to have the DRS advantage. We have the DRS advantage and the slipstream, and we are going to do a simple DRS overtake on Nicholas Latifi. As now our main focus has definitely got to be Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda ahead, and kind of the hope of a safety car coming out, because these hard tyres most likely won't give us the speed and pace at the end of the race. So most likely we are going to have to do a 2-stop on this race, getting on softer tyres, probably the softest compound, the Redwood soft tyres, nearer to the end of the race, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. As now we've got to focus on the Ferrari and Tsunoda ahead. They are our main targets, just making up as many positions as possible in this race. You can see on lap 10 we have a really closed up on the Ferrari. I believe there's a car ahead that has slight wing damage ahead. That is why they're slow in this pack, which has allowed us to catch up to them. We have actually gapped Nicholas Latifi behind. As I said, we are pretty good around Suzuka, about top 20% lap time, I'm going to call it, because I can't be bothered to go through it all again. But around top 20% lap time at Suzuka, so our race pace isn't the worst. As now our race pace is going to be really bad, because our engine's blown up, and that's not the best, is it? That is actually kind of a big blow. We were in P11, on the verge of points. There were a few people that pit behind us, such as Verstappen and Norris, but we might have been able to get lucky and get through with a lucky safety car. But hey, it's just the luck of the draw. It's not for positions that really matter at this point. So yeah. Oh well, our second mechanical failure in 3 races. It's not what you want to see, but it's not exactly the worst either. We're in Aston Martin. Like, points are a rare commodity, which I seem to be whenever I get points, I'm doing a very good result. It's very confusing, but George Russell, the Mercedes man, I believe he's in P2 in the championship, closing in on Charles Leclerc by about, I believe he gets an extra 10 points in this race over Charles Leclerc. He is closing in on the Monegasque for the Drivers' Championship. I believe he is his closest rival, closely followed by Max Verstappen. But Verstappen, I believe, is actually quite low down in the order. I'm not sure. I will check afterwards. I'm sure I'll put the scores in. Not the scores. Yeah, the scores on the doors on at some point. As celebrations for Mercedes in Japan, and woes for one of the teams that they supply engines to, as we lose our engine around lap 10. Might have got points, I'm not sure. We did have pretty good race pace, but we were going to have to pit again. So if we got lucky with a safety car, we might have been able to get to the end with a good race pace, but that is just not going to be the case today. George Russell in first, Lando Norris second, and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. And you see Max Verstappen in P10, only scoring 1 point. Let's have a quick cheeky look at the standings in a minute here, as it was ourselves, Sergio Perez and Guan Yu Zhou were the non-finishers from this race. Our teammate Sebastian Vettel only ending up in P15, with Kevin Magnussen in the Haas scoring 2 points. They're building a bit of a gap now, I believe. Actually, let's check the standings here. We see Charles Leclerc at the top, closely followed, 38 points behind by George Russell, and then Max Verstappen a further 12 points down. We're in P11. To be honest, at this point, we have a pretty solid P11 in the Drivers' Championship. I doubt we'll be able to catch Ricciardo, and I really doubt Kevin Magnussen's going to be able to catch us with this little races left. And if we look at the Constructors, Haas are 8 points ahead of us. Alfa Romeo are 10 points behind, as it's closing up. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.